Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Black Four-Leaf Clover, from Check-In. Chapter 91. It's been lenient, Yami said lightly. If it wasn't for the sake of me, the new leader, you would have collected the corpse. From now on, when I go to the tuba at night, you have to be more careful. By the way, your focus now is that something is wrong with your younger brother. Captain Kuroba seems to have discovered this, so he beat him violently. Something wrong. Finral hurriedly looked towards the ruins. Looking at the figure covered in blood and roaring hysterically, his pupils suddenly contracted. In my mind, the picture and the sentence I heard when I met Kuroba yesterday flashed through my mind. To protect the person you want to protect, you must have the power to overwhelm everything at. Originally, for Finral, this was just a new group leader who casually said a few perfunctory words in order to buy people's hearts. It never occurred to me that all this is true. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. Langris roared hysterically with a distorted expression. The whole person was like a flash of light, the magic power dormant in the body exploded like a desperate madness. Forced spatial fluctuations emerged from his body. The next moment, like a ghost, disappeared in place, directly tore apart the space, and appeared behind Kuroba. Its burning vitality. Yami and Nozel were taken aback. This is a desperate last resort for a magister. Under this kind of competition, it will not appear at all. Although this discussion is a bit too much. The violent scene changed Finral's expression drastically. Before he had time to think about it, he also cast space magic and rushed to Kuroba first. Langris, don't mess around. However, in the face of his urgent cry, everything seemed pale. As soon as Langris appeared, his magic power surged again, and one after another magic space balls quickly condensed and emerged, turning Finral's face black. Seeing the attack that quickly emerged from his pupils, Finral's heart suddenly became cold. Without the aura of a pig's foot, if you yell, the small universe will not explode. Kuroba suddenly turned around, smiled and snapped his fingers casually. Have you ever tasted being struck by lightning? Boom. The deep thunderous sound reverberated above the 9 heavens, causing everyone's expressions to change. The next moment, the thunder that descended from the sky was like a tide, turning into a horse, taking the first step and covering Langris's body. Boom! A huge air wave was set off, and the wind and sand rolled back like a tide, directly ejecting Finral. After the dust had cleared, Langris, who was in it, had already froze in his movements. In the end, under the eyes of everyone, it was smashed into the ruins. Seeing Langris, who had completely stopped, the faces of the people present couldn't help but change dramatically. Can you cast magic without grimoire? Arkdella turned pale. It can be said that what happened one after another today has subverted their cognition. The magic book is just a medium that allows you to cast specific magic in an instant. This kind of simple lightning method is not impossible to cast without a magic book. Kuroba looked back lightly. According to his understanding, grimoire is like a programmer, with pre-built program code. As long as the magic power is input, the code can be driven. Of course, Kuroba said this just to cover up the reason of the system. His strength comes from the system itself, and the magic book is just a carrier to hide his eyes, and there is not much restriction on his own ability. Captain Kuroba, your words are too simple. An attack of this scale and power cannot be used by just anyone. Yami took a puff of a cigarette and said with a serious face, don't impose it on your monster. On Kaikai's body. Quote. Regarding Yami's rebuttal, Kuroba gave a helpless glance, recalled the magic book in Nero's hand from a distance, and said, 2 leaders, do you plan to visit the office with me? For Langris's last life-burning attack, there's also the feeling of feedback just now in Kuroba's field of electromagnetic magic. Kuroba was able to confirm that there must be other secrets in the tower where vengeance is located. Of course I would. Yami laughed dryly. The moment the voice fell, the Japanese seemed to have already prepared. It turned into an afterimage and plundered towards the tower. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. Before they could react, 3 huge magic powers detonated like a frenzy. Fire creation magic, Wrath of the Fire Spirit. Beast creation magic Demon King Claw attack. Fallen Angel Wings black spell. As soon as the 3 attacks came out, the top of the entire tower was cut off in an instant. It turned into a powerful wave and attacked the 3 of Kuroba. Faced with this blow, the grimoire in Kuroba's hand flew away quickly. Ice creation magic silver world. Mercury creates magic reflection shield. Dark creation magic, dark cave. As soon as the 3 rays of light rose, the magic means of both sides collided with each other. Boom! The sound of a thunderous explosion rolled away. Under the rewinding hurricane all over the sky, all kinds of magic power splashed out. Some buildings crumbled. The uproarious scene caused the expression of everyone in the field to change drastically, and they all pulled back and retreated violently. Just a moment ago, they were still thinking about Kuroba finishing off vengeance. Now all of a sudden, from the same office, to the emergence of a strong man with unknown history, a fight broke out. This undoubtedly exceeded their cognition. This magic power is very similar to that of Langris. Yami withdrew and fell to the ground in the storm of the explosion. He looked up at the 3 figures in the sky, with a trace of solemnity on his face. The 3 are all zero-domain powerhouses. Nozel frowned and said, looking at the style of their clothes, they seem to be somewhat similar to the Baiyi magic eyes that have been active around these days. I just didn't expect that they would invade Golden Dawn while vengeance was away. Kuroba didn't take it seriously when he saw Nozel, who had filled Vengeance's imagination as soon as he opened his mouth. After all, in the face of 1 body and 2 souls, he is the leader of the strongest magic knights, the Vengeance who claims to be the closest to the existence of the Magic Emperor. No one will take the initiative to doubt. As for why Kuroba didn't take the initiative to break it, it was because he was concerned about the system's check-in task. The check-in tasks randomly triggered by the system emerge endlessly. If Kuroba completely subverts the development of the entire world, there will be a plot check-in just in case. Then Kuroba regretted it, responding to all changes with the same as Kuroba's current preferred way of coping. What's more, Kuroba's greatest hope now is to avoid fighting as much as possible, so as not to ruin the destination he signed in. Thinking of this, Kuroba said coldly, "Let's go." What? The people present were stunned, not to mention Yami and Nozel, even the 3 of Baiyi's magic eyes were no exception. The way of appearance just now has already made people think about the situation of a big battle. The current change made them almost lose their waists. Shall we? In the void, like an orc, with yellow hair all over his body and a burly figure like an iron tower, Veto laughed first. The dark eyes turned in vain, locked on Kuroba's body and said, "Are you worried that fighting us in the rich district will bring disaster to those nobles? It seems that you humans are all hypocritical animals." Quote, "Our white magic eyes, it's rare to appear for the first time. If you let us leave, we will leave. If this matter spreads, we thought that our 3 demons would be afraid of your magic knights." Having said that, Veto glanced left and right, and said, "Raya, Fana, how about we make a scene? Make a fuss." The faces of Yami and Nozel changed dramatically. They were just thinking about gathering people to capture the 3 suspicious guys. But it never occurred to me that once the battle was not considered, it would bring disaster to the wealthy district. For a moment, the field looked at Kuroba with a hint of shock. Not only powerful, but also thoughtful, even such details can be thought of. Undoubtedly refreshed the courageous and resourceful character design. Listening to the voices gradually gathering around because of the explosion, Yami and Nozel looked at each other and shouted in unison. "Let's all take action, trap them here, and wait until other magic knights come to help." "Do it." Boom. Yami and Nozel rushed out instantly. As the team leader, the magic power of the Zero Domain suddenly exploded to the extreme, and like a streamer, it plundered the 3 of Fana. The uproarious scene made Veto's face flash with a hint of ferocity, and said, "Raya, are you ready for space magic? Let these hateful humans try it. What is the taste of despair?" "Of course we are ready, we will meet in 3 minutes." Raya pulled the bangs on his forehead, glanced at Kuroba, and said, "I hope you can choose a suitable opponent." Buzz. The space fluctuated together, and the 3 figures standing in the void were the first to disappear in place out of thin air. The faces of Yami and Nozel who rushed out suddenly changed drastically. Before they had time to think about it, they directly pushed the magic field to the extreme. "I found it, one is to the east, one is to the north, and the last one is in the direction of the Jade Rose." Yami shouted anxiously. "The one to the north is not far from the silver-winged eagle, let me go." Nozel frowned, and quickly cast the Mercury Eagle, landing on it. "Yami, you go to the east, take it down and hand it over to Captain Kuroba." Seeing Nozzle, who assigned the opponent as soon as he opened his mouth, Yami hesitated for a moment and didn't care too much. He called the magic broom with his backhand and ran away with Nozzle. Seeing the 5 people who disappeared from sight in an instant, the huge ruins fell into a brief silence and all eyes fell on Kuroba. New leader, aren't you going? I'll take you there. Finral hastily stepped forward and asked. Go, where are you going? The people over there are all nobles. They won't be grateful for a refugee's rescue. Let them make a fuss first. When they are desperate, maybe they will be grateful. Also, when they asked about it, they said that my magic power was exhausted, so I should rest for a while. After Kuroba rolled his eyes, the magic power on his body rose. Immediately cast Thunderbolt and rushed to the ruins of the office that was mostly shattered. He let people go to ensure that the office was not destroyed. In case the office is destroyed, the system defaults, and the check-in task fails, it will be for Kuroba. That was a nightmare. They must all be slaughtered. Looking at Kuroba, who had completely forgotten about saving lives and had no intention of chasing after him, let alone Finral, even the people present were stunned. Most importantly, the effort to make excuses is too perfunctory, right? A moment ago, the magic power of the Zero Domain exploded casually, and he raised his hands and feet. Now tell them that the magic power is not enough. I am afraid even the ghosts will not believe this excuse. Senior Klaus, let's go. Yuno glanced at Kuroba, who fell on the ruins, and said, this time the Golden Dawn is invaded, the deputy head of Langris is possessed, and the head of Vengeance is not here, so as Golden Dawn is one of us, we should do our part. The expressions of the members of the Golden Dawn present changed slightly. Klaus was no exception. He raised his hand to support his glasses and said, Yuno is right, at least we need to do our part, and we can make Captain Vengeance less troublesome afterward. As soon as these words fell, Arkdella, the #1 fan of Vengeance in Golden Dawn, hurriedly echoed, Klaus is right, and I agree with this proposal. However, now that the head of Vengeance is not here, and the deputy head of Langris is injured, let me lead the team temporarily. I think this method is feasible. Shilan also nodded in agreement. With someone taking the lead, the remaining magisters also expressed their opinions. For a time, morale became high. Okay, since everyone agrees, let's go out now, catch the man with the white magic eyes, make a name for our Golden Dawn, and let some people know that we are the strongest magic knights in the 4-leaf Clover Kingdom. Arkdella raised his arms and yelled, and subconsciously glanced at Kuroba. The morale is good, but remember to change your pants first, otherwise you will be ashamed if you don't show up. Kuroba certainly heard the implication. After a blank glance, the ethereal voice of the system finally sounded in my mind. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, arrived at the head of the Golden Dawn, Vengeance's office is successful. Host, please wait a moment. The sign-in time is 1 minute. If you leave in the middle, it will be regarded as a sign-in failure. Once the sign-in is successful, the host will get rich rewards from the system. The slightly elongated sound of the reminder once again gave Hay the emphasis. The rewards that can be obtained for this mainline sign-in task are undoubtedly not trivial. Seeing the demoralized morale, Arkdella couldn't help but turn pale. Looking at the members around him, his face showed a trace of embarrassment. He couldn't help biting his silver teeth, and turned around to rush away. Looking at the distant figure, Yuno and Klaus looked at each other and followed quickly. On the other hand, Blue Rose's stronghold is located at the junction of the wealthy district and the inner King City. The members of the group are all female. Moreover, most of them are also nobles or rich people. Of course, there are exceptions as well. Sister, take a look at my earth puppet. It has become bigger and more powerful. To this extent, it should surpass that newcomer you mentioned. On the huge camp square, a capable female man with a dark figure and haircut is riding a huge clay puppet of 7 or 8 meters, running and dodging back and forth, conducting planning training. Facing the result of this spellcasting, the girl obviously couldn't wait to look at the woman who was sitting not far away, enjoying scented tea, with no emotional fluctuations on her face. Saul, you can't, he's much better than this. Charlotte took a sip of scented tea and said mercilessly. Ah, Saul hugged his head and said coquettishly, Sister, you are joking, there is no possibility that the rookie is better than me. They all said that I am the closest to my sister. No, I will go to the Black Bull to see him. Wang Li's left these words, Sol turned around and planned to control the native puppet went straight to the black bull. Watching this scene, Charlotte frowned, and was about to speak out to dissuade her, but the next moment her expression changed suddenly, and she began to shout coquettishly. Sol, beware. At the same time, the magic book flew out quickly, bursting out with tyrannical magic power fluctuations. Nest of roses. Be careful. Sol was stunned for a moment, looking at Charlotte, who shot suddenly, and before she could react, fiery air waves fell from the sky. Boom! The green rose plants quickly built a huge sky dome above Sol, and instantly collided with the overwhelming flames. Boom! There was a thunderous explosion. Under the rewinding of the blazing flame, it directly pierced through the rose nest, which usually has an amazing defense. Feeling that this far beyond ordinary fire attribute magic power pierced through the last layer of defense, Charlotte's face was terrified, and she cried out urgently. Sol. Wind creation magic. Tower of Feng Lan. Steel creation magic. Passionate steel drill. The two attacks swept up without warning, colliding with the falling flames. Accompanied by the sound of the explosion, there was a trace of stagnation in the flames that hit the sky. Witnessing this scene, Sol's expression changed slightly, and he quickly released his hand to cast magic. Soil creation magic. Thick wall of earth. Boom. The aftermath of the fiery flame, under multiple weakenings, was finally directly blocked by Sol's earth wall. After all the aftermath of the shock dissipated, Charlotte rushed to Sol's side quickly. Yuno and Klaus, who came in a hurry from a distance, also landed on the square. Sister, what happened? Sol glanced at Yuno and Klaus, and said, the little boys who shot just now, is the strongest rookie Kuroba in sister's mouth. The strongest rookie Kuroba. Yuno's footsteps became stiff, and his face darkened involuntarily. He joined the regiment in a hurry yesterday, and Kuroba knocked at his door this morning, and he didn't even get the regiment uniform with the Golden Dawn accessories in time. I still wear the civilian clothes when I joined the regiment. That guy is not Kuroba, but another four-leaf clover grimoire rookie. He's not bad. Charlotte glanced at Yuno coldly. Ah, Sol was taken aback, and said, my lord, isn't the four-leaf clover grimoire very powerful? Why can't he compare to that Kuroba? Is that guy really strong? Next time I must go and see. Shut up. Charlotte glanced coldly, then looked up to the sky. The two of the Golden Dawn, what is going on? Klaus and Yuno suddenly came back to their senses, looked up hastily, and explained, this matter is a bit complicated. The white magic eye invaded the Golden Dawn and was hacked. CHCC, Captain Kuroba saw through it. One of the magic eyes, and the other two were chased by Nozel and Captain Yami respectively. Regarding what happened in Golden Dawn, Yuno and Klaus couldn't tell for a moment. What's more, the situation in front of him does not allow him to elaborate. That brat again. Charlotte raised her eyebrows, looked around, and asked in confusion, where is he? This. After hesitating for a moment, Klaus said, Captain Kuroba, he said that the mana consumption is a bit high, and it will take some time to recover. For Kuroba's behavior and refugee status, Klaus is a little unhappy. But Kuroba's strength and position as leader are clearly in front of him. Facing Charlotte's questioning right now, he knew that this was Kuroba's nonsense, but he just bit the bullet and answered. Well, for such a terrifying opponent, it's a miracle that he didn't die, but that he was exhausted, otherwise he would really be a monster. Charlotte replied coldly, and immediately looked at the sky again. Regarding these words, Yuno and Klaus couldn't help but twitch their cheek muscles when they thought of Kuroba's attitude that was not worn out at all, but still alive and well. As Yami commented, don't confuse a demon with a genius. Otherwise, it is self-defeating. Apart from the two of you, didn't that arrogant person come after you? In the void, Fana's clothes fluttered without wind, her beautiful eyes stared down, and her face was full of madness. The fluctuations of magic power emanating from the whole body made the air burn and distort even more. His eyes turned in vain, and he locked on Charlotte and said, I remember that there is your information in the intelligence, is it the leader of Blue Rose? However, if you think that this lineup can keep me, you really underestimate me. Don't underestimate it, it's a funeral, but the moment you broke into our Blue Rose, you were already doomed. Charlotte said coldly, a gleam of coldness flashed in her beautiful eyes. So, do it. Earth creation magic, rock pillar. Boom. Sol, hiding behind Charlotte, took the lead. The rocky ground under Fana's feet suddenly boomed and protruded. Like an earth dragon, it opened its bloody mouth and swallowed it directly. The violent scene seemed to make Fana unable to react at all. When the rock was approaching, Charlotte's magic was also activated to the extreme. Dense rose vines, like a horned dragon, wound towards the rock. As Soul's sister-in-law, the fighting style of the two has already cooperated seamlessly. Facing fire attribute magic, Charlotte's special plant magic is indeed restrained by fire attribute. However, under the main attack of rock magic, it will undoubtedly weaken the restraint of fire attribute magic infinitely. With the help of rose vines to take root, it is possible to increase the magic damage of both parties to the extreme. Let's do it too. Make sure to hit her severely with one blow and raise the reputation of our Golden Dawn. Klaus's face flashed a gleam of joy. Now that Fana is trapped, this is the best chance for a surprise attack. The magic book in his hand, like also erupted with dazzling magic light. Steel creation magic, steel spike. Wind creation magic, storm lane. 4 majestic magical powers were detonated in an instant, stirring up the sky in all directions like a frenzy. With a crushing attitude, it rolled across the air towards Fana, who was imprisoned in the void. Boom! The sound of a thunderous explosion reverberated suddenly, and the tyrannical explosion swept back. A large cloud of dust was rolled up. However, before they could cheer up, Charlotte's complexion changed dramatically. An inexplicable dangerous breath exploded like a hurricane. Hurry up and dodge, this enemy is weird. Charlotte shouted urgently. Plant creation magic, the spirit of the rose. Weird. The faces of Klaus, and others changed drastically. In their eyes, with the combined attack led by the head of the Jade Rose, the strong in a region will be caught off guard and will be instantly killed. Those who are strong in the zero domain will also be hit hard. However, with the magical aura emanating now, even the leader of Blue Rose was shocked. This made Klaus and have no time to think about it, and quickly retreated. The huge rose vines, like tentacles, quickly flew and twisted up, trying to pierce the blast wave, and captured Fana, who was hiding in it again. Roar! The sound of the dragon's chant shook the sky. With a deafening taste, it rose straight to the sky of the 9 heavens. The tyrannical sound caused the sand and dust filling the sky and the earth to stagnate for a moment. The fiery fire dragon claws suddenly protruded from the center of the explosion, tore apart the incoming rose vines head on. The moment the billowing fire wave rolled back, the dragon's wings suddenly opened, and its huge body of more than 10 meters gave people a feeling of oppression that could block out the sky and block out the sun. The body made of flames was the first to appear in the eyes of everyone. The endless flame tornado, with the giant dragon as the center, detonated loudly. Boom! The raging fire tornado instantly tore up the rose vines that broke through the ground. It even rolled back in a rolling posture. Wherever he passed, no matter if it was rock or steel, he couldn't stop him at all. Faced with this violent scene, the faces of and the others changed dramatically. Under such a close distance, there is no way to hide. The only thing he could do was to watch the attack, and his pupils quickly enlarged. Saul, you hide behind me, I'll stop it. Charlotte just took a half step back, a flash of determination flashed on her cold and arrogant cheeks like a paralyzed face. The magic power in the body poured into the magic book crazily, as if no money was needed. Since the attributes are restrained, the only thing Charlotte can do is to win in numbers. My lord, your magic is restrained, don't mess around, let Saul be the queen. Saul suddenly became anxious, and took half a step first. However, before they could make a move, an inexplicable biting chill swept over from behind. In this kind of world of fire and sea, one can't help but tremble, and her thighs are suddenly clamped. The sudden voice is even more prying people's nerves. Ice creation magic silver world. Boom! The violent wave of ice and snow, like a flood, swept in the distance. The speed is so fast that it is several points faster than the flame tornado. Before everyone could react, they crossed over in an instant and collided with the fiery tornado. Boom! The collision without any hesitation was instantly detonated. From a distance, the entire square is centered on them, as if it has become a world of ice and fire. The blast wave caused and the others to be overturned directly. Rose Riverbed. Charlotte gave a special shout, and while retreating, directly summoned a large area of plants to form a huge net bed, and directly stopped them flying upside down. After they recovered, the square in front of them, which was occupied by flames and ice crystals, slowly returned to calm. However, the object of entry is a strange picture of half frozen and half terracotta. In the sky, Fana, standing on a huge fire faucet more than 10 meters away, stared gloomily at the city wall 500 or 600 meters away, and a trace of undisguised murderous intent flashed in the depths of her beautiful eyes. In Fana's eyes, the sudden use of the fire elves can directly injure or even kill these annoying bugs in an unexpected situation. It never occurred to him that at such a juncture, Shengxian would become Cheng Yaojin. Not only did it block her ultimate move, but it also inconceivably collided with her fire attribute with ice attribute magic. In the end it was evenly divided. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, Fana would not believe it. All of this is true. He's finally here. Klaus turned over in the vines, feeling the biting chill, tightened his clothes, and hurriedly held up his glasses to follow Kuroba's way. Just a moment ago, Klaus felt uncomfortable with Qin Yu's refugee status and behavior. But as Qin Yu said, no matter how high one's status is, only after being tossed by the crisis of death will one feel a little gratitude to the rescuer. After the short fight just now, Klaus knew it clearly. They were teamed up with the leader of Blue Rose, but Klaus knew clearly that facing the huge flame dragon entrenched in the void. Charlotte is the head of the group, but the situation is completely overwhelmed by attributes. It's not enough for the other party to see. The only chance right now is to place hope on this sloppy, strongest rookie in history. My lord, who is this, who is fighting with ice and fire, and is not at a disadvantage? Saul sneezed. The clothes on her body were originally cool clothes, a pair of small trousers, and a small tube top. Under this frozen world-like magic, it is undoubtedly a bit overwhelming. Charlotte subconsciously glanced at Kuroba, frowned, and said, "He is Kuroba, the new leader of the Black Bull that you have been thinking about." However, recovering the lost magic power so quickly, and being able to face with the fire attribute magic power boosted by the fire elves, this person is definitely not an ordinary zero-level powerhouse. Sister, what are you talking about? Saul will only be thinking about my sister. If you say this, it will be misunderstood, and Saul will be shy. Saul's cheeks turned red all of a sudden, and he took a peek at Kuroba. He hastily changed the subject and said, "My lord, what is the fire elf you mentioned just now?" Facing the colossal monster that even the four of them joined forces, they couldn't break it, and they were almost killed. Not to mention Saul, even Yuno suddenly became energetic. That was an overwhelming defeat. HMPH, I don't even know this bit of knowledge, so teach me every day in the future. Charlotte snorted coldly and said, "There are all kinds of magic in this world, but the most basic ones are the four elemental magics. Respectively, fire, earth, water, and wind. Among them, each element has an elemental spirit who controls them." Speaking of which, Charlotte looked up to the sky. If I remember correctly, the girl with one of the three magic eyes should have the fire elemental Salamander, the remaining water spirit is called Undine, the wind spirit is Cipher, and the earth spirit the elves of the element are called Gnome, and those chosen by the elemental elves are the chosen ones. I never thought that there would be such a person in Bai Yi's magic eye. Yuno and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. The short fight just now made them clearly understand what it means to be chosen by the elves. Looking at the huge flame dragon in the void, it is not an existence that they can fight alone. "You crazy guy is finally here, I thought you were scared," Fana said with a grim look. "Not only destroying our good things, but also daring to chase after them. I really want to know, what kind of confidence do you have? Are you planning to join forces with them and keep me?" "That's just so naive." Charlotte heard the words, couldn't help but clench the long rose whip in her hand, looked at Kuroba and said, "I don't like being commanded by a newcomer, but the magic I have is just restrained by her, so I can follow your orders from now on, help you fight. Let him lead the team." Yuno and Klaus couldn't help but startled. Compared with Kuroba, Charlotte is a veteran team leader. Being able to say such a thing is enough to prove that she is helpless in the face of Fana, who was chosen by the fire elves. Facing the scorching sea of flames right now, they can still freeze thousands of miles in ice, and the situation of equal shares undoubtedly gives them a glimmer of hope. "My lord, I want to help too." Saul also became anxious all of a sudden. Yuno and Klaus showed a hint of unwillingness on their faces, but they still gritted their teeth and prepared to express their views. Sorry, did you guys misunderstand something? Kuroba smiled and nodded, looking at Fana and asked. To deal with a woman, especially a beautiful woman, if you still call her a scumbag, so to show your sincerity to the beautiful woman, I decided to go alone. Charlotte and the others were stunned. I don't understand this kind of personalized modern internet term at all. You said, deal with me alone. Fana was taken aback for a moment, and then laughed ferociously. Haha, this is the biggest joke I've ever heard. Let me tell you, my fire elf, Salamanda, hasn't used her full strength yet. Could it be that you plan to fight me just because of this little bit of breaking the ice? Captain Kuroba, please don't be arrogant. Charlotte also persuaded. In the short fight just now, she clearly knew how strong Fana was under the help of the fire elf. Thank you, Captain Charlotte, for your concern. Kuroba walked out of the crowd with a smile, and at the same time took out the shallow punch from his waist with his backhand, and said, however, it just so happened that I also hid my strength just now. Hope Miss Fana deserves to let me release the real name of this knife. A minute ago, Kuroba successfully signed in the ruins of Vengeance's office and received rich rewards from the system, which were related to the Zanpakuto in his hand. Moreover, this real name was far beyond Kuroba's expectations. He believes that once he obtains the initial solution and swastika of this Zanpakuto, the devil of this world is absolutely shit. Are you planning to defeat me by defeating Langris? Fana's expression froze for a moment, and then he laughed mischievously. I'm sorry, I'm different from that guy. Not only do I have the fire spirit Salamanda, but I also control the magic field. Your speed may be very good, but it may be difficult to get close to me. In the world of four-leaf clover, the fire elves originally possessed independent human consciousness, and they were the kings of attributes, definitely not comparable to ordinary zero-domain powerhouses. Cooperating with humans, the growth of strength is not as simple as 1 + 1. I'm sorry, you seem to be thinking wrong too. Kuroba smiled warmly. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he clenched the shallow beaker in his hands and let out a deep breath. As for the real name given in the system, Kuroba doesn't know what will appear once it is really unblocked. However, facing the fire spirit Saratumanda in front of him, he also eagerly wanted to see what kind of sparks this shallow real name would create in this world. The real name that has been sleeping for a long time, wakes up across dimensions. Let the endless flames burn this world, turn everything into ashes, and I will bestow my real name on the hand. The slightly long and complicated words were slowly spoken in Kuroba's mouth, and the next moment, his eyes suddenly opened. Flame is like a blade. Hum. The simple 4 words came out, and the air circulating in the whole world seemed to stagnate in an instant. The wind does not move, the tree does not shake. At this moment, the originally cool and moist air in the entire royal city seemed to be evaporated at this moment. A hot feeling swept over people's hearts. Jung. The sound of knives sounded without warning. The next moment, with the shallow strike in Kuroba's hand, scarlet lines spread rapidly on the blade like a spider web. The strange scene was under the vent of an indescribable breath. The surrounding air has evaporated water vapor. Salamanda, what's wrong with you? Fana asked suddenly. She felt the fire spirit under her feet and became a little restless. In particular, a pair of dragon eyes, staring at the strange shallow strike in Kuroba's hand as if facing a formidable enemy. However, before Salamanda could respond, the next moment, the scarlet lines that spread rapidly across the shallow strike were directly connected together under the watchful eyes of everyone. Finral, take them away. Kuroba opened his eyes and roared anxiously. Boom. The endless flames, like a frenzy, detonated instantly on the shallow strike. The blazing fire waves, giving people a feeling like raging waves, rushed straight into the sky of the 9 heavens. With a violent and incomparable posture, he directly enveloped the fire elves Salamanda and Fani. With an undiminished attitude, it pierced through the lead clouds accumulated in the sky. From a distance, it feels like a pillar of flames touching the ground. The kilometer-long square was swept by endless flames, burning most of it. Finral and others, who appeared in the distance in time, looked at the scene in front of them, and their eye sockets were about to burst. No, It's impossible. This is the fire attribute magic power, this huge fire attribute magic power. You, who are you? Na Zhuangruo, who was in the sea of flames, roared crazily. Salamanda, quickly break his flame. This is the third magical attribute that appeared on Kuroba. For special reasons, she also possesses a second magic attribute. However, for ore magic, her control is completely incomparable to the fire attribute. Kuroba not only exhibited excellent thunder attribute magic, but also showed an ice attribute that is not comparable to her. Right now, there is still such a powerful fire attribute that almost crushes her. Is this still alive? Roar. The painful dragon chant suddenly sounded. The fire dragon in the sea of fire, the fire element that made up the body, seemed to be twisting rapidly. No, it felt like he was being burned himself. The huge dragon head suddenly raised high, and the whole body burst into fiery flames. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he frantically flapped his wings, rushed straight out of the sea of flames, and plundered far away. In the violent scene, it can be said that Fana on the fire faucet couldn't recover. Looking at the previous moment, the extremely airy fire elf Salamanda now gives people a feeling of running away with a tail mixed in. Is this the rhythm of being scared away? Kuroba was also a bit surprised by all this. This time, he is the real name given to Qian Da by the Liberation System, and he awakens Lu Huo Ruo Jian. The degree of distance from the initial solution is still very large. However, among the gods of death, it is known as the oldest and most powerful Zanpakuto of the Flame System. In the hands of Gutei 13th Division, the head captain Yamamoto Motoriusai Shigekuni, that is a powerful and unparalleled capital. It can be said that the system's reward this time is indeed too unexpected. Space magic hyphenation point black annihilation. Dark magic. Operator dark entanglement. Boom. In the wealthy district in the east, two figures quickly staggered on the building. With every collision, the tyrannical magic power splashes and shatters large areas of surrounding buildings. Isn't that Yami, the god of destruction of the Black Bull? He's fighting in the city again. Hey, you did this, but where did you put the precious lives of us rich people? You are a devil. A series of hasty shouts came from the ruins. In the face of these long accustomed abuse, Yami has long been used to it. With a sudden swing of the sword wrapped in dark magic in his hand, he split the incoming space magic ball in half. At the same time, he quickly zoomed in on the magic field, intending to locate the elusive figure as soon as possible. However, as soon as the magic field was activated, Yami's nerves tensed up. Even Raya, who was moving at a high speed, suddenly stopped her pace, and the two of them turned their eyes in unison, looking in the direction of Blue Rose. Seeing the huge pillar of flames soaring into the sky, piercing through the lead cloud accumulated in the sky, the pupils suddenly shrank. What a strong fire attribute magic wave, is that strange girl? Yato's expression changed involuntarily. That direction, is Kuroba in charge? Yami has confidence in Kuroba's strength. But feeling this wave of magic power that can be accurately felt even at such a distance, even he has a feeling of uncertainty and subconsciously looks at Raya. What he has to do now is how to get rid of this person's pursuit and rush to support as soon as possible. As soon as this idea came up, Yami saw Raya's expression suddenly change, and said emotionally, "This doesn't feel like the power of a fire elf." That's where Fana is. Space creation magic, Black Angel's Gate. The space fluctuation on Raya's body rose, and disappeared in place the next moment. Yami's expression froze, and he was planning to get rid of Raya, but he didn't expect that his reaction was bigger than his own. However, to make one of the three magic-eyed generals by Yi so frightened, what happened is probably not a trivial matter. Kuroba, you kid, don't worry. Yami murmured to himself, and immediately summoned the magic broom. He turned over and landed on the magic broom, and quickly rushed towards Blue Rose. The wealthy district is very large, but at Yami's extreme flying speed, it has crossed several blocks in the blink of an eye. Yami, do you also feel this magical power that is different from ordinary people? Nozel's cold words came. Soon, I saw him also standing on the Bird of Mercury and rushing over quickly. It seems that your opponent, like mine, ran away with a drastic change of expression when he saw this scene. Yami frowned. Then this huge fire attribute magic power, could it not be that strange girl? If another unknown enemy appears, I'm afraid today will be a sleepless night. I have been fighting for about 2 minutes now. I hope other guys can support Kuroba in time. I don't want my new leader to die so soon. Arrived. Nozel spoke suddenly. Soon the two climbed up the huge city wall, and hurriedly looked at Blue Rose, who was separated by the wall. At the same time, the magic field quickly opened, covering the entire square. The flames soaring into the sky had already dissipated. The berserk power was completely wiped out between heaven and earth. The goal is just a mess, like a doomsday square. As for the imaginary enemies entangled in their minds, they disappeared instantly. Seeing the only figure standing in the square, the pupils of Yami and Nozel suddenly shrank. Quote. Hehe, Yami, Nozel, thank you for your hard work. The astonishing fire attribute magic just now was indeed released by Captain Kuroba. Magic Emperor's voice sounded suddenly. With a space mage as an attendant, Chiandiz came directly after he felt the huge wave of fire attribute magic power in the royal city. I just saw the scene where the firelight converged. Boss Julius, is this a monster? Yami couldn't help but swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and the cigarette dangling from the corner of his mouth couldn't help falling down. Not long ago, Kuroba's display of dual attributes has already shocked people's hearts. Now there is another fire attribute. Does this keep anyone else alive? I think even monsters will lower the level of Captain Kuroba. Julius laughed dryly, and said with lingering fear, the knife in his hand is probably a legendary artifact. Artifact. Yami's expression changed drastically. He was deeply impressed by Kuroba's shallow strike. I also borrowed it yesterday and practiced kendo well. It never occurred to him that such a powerful power is hidden in this sacred sword. Okay, you don't need to be surprised. Don't forget, Kuroba's identity is a god-level alchemist, and he has some super powerful magic items, so it's no exception. Magic Emperor came back to his senses first and explained. However, the fluctuation of magic power just now is like a sense of oppression in the zero domain, which makes people feel the development of the spine. Seeing that even the Magic Emperor gave such high praise, the expressions on Yami's and Nozel's faces became even worse. Okay, let's go over and say hello first. The Magic Emperor's body was full of gold, and he came to Kuroba's side like a ghost. It's Lord Julius, Saul exclaimed excitedly. However, it was quickly interrupted by Charlotte's water-cooled eyes. Looking around at the severely damaged surroundings, clearly knew what might happen next. Seeing the appearance of the Magic Emperor, Kuroba backhanded Lianwo, who had liberated his real name, back into its sheath. Kuroba has already sensed the arrival of the Magic Emperor in the field. Especially the method that appears in front of you like teleportation. It can be said that this is the way that the Magic Emperor uses time magic to accelerate his own time rapidly to move across the time of the environment. In the original book, it was used in the decisive battle with Barrett. Compared with ordinary acceleration methods, it is stronger and faster. What's more, time magic is a freak. Captain Kuroba, I didn't expect to meet you so soon. Magic Emperor smiled and raised his hand. I already know the general situation. Thank you, Captain Kuroba, for discovering the trace of Bai Yi's magic eye. However, you may be in a little trouble next time. I hope you can follow my advice. In trouble. As soon as Yami and Nozel landed on the ground, their expressions suddenly changed, obviously remembering what trouble the Magic Emperor was referring to. Boss Julius, this must be a misunderstanding. What's more, Kuroba discovered their invasion of the Golden Dawn. Yami said urgently. Master Julius, I also think that there is a misunderstanding in this matter. Nozel also echoed. This time, he was fighting for something else, but he didn't want to watch Kuroba suffer such humiliation. Sensing the change in the atmosphere in the arena, Kuroba frowned, as if thinking of something. Ding dang, there is no time limit to sign in the task. Please the host to go to the strong magic area to sign in. After the sign-in is successful, you will get the system reward. W. The ethereal notification sound of the system suddenly sounded in my mind. Kuroba's expression changed, and he seemed a little surprised. The so-called strong demon zone is a natural barrier between the kingdom and the kingdom in this world. To break through the strong magic area, one must have magic power beyond ordinary people, and at least know the magic skin. Otherwise, once you force your way in by mistake, you will be killed by the violent magic power in the strong magic zone. In the original book, among the Red Lotus Lion Kings, Melaleona Vermilion, known as the undefeated and uncrowned lioness, has been guarding and training herself in the strong magic zone. After Fugolian, the Lion King of the Red Lotus, was severely injured and fell into a coma, he came back to replace the Lion of the Red Lotus. Then he led Red Lotus Lion, Asta and others to the strong magic zone to train the control of the magic skin. Looking at the four-leaf clover kingdom, it is definitely in existence above the 9 regiment leaders. Could it be that the next trouble will be related to the strong magic zone? Kuroba frowned. During this period of time, he also gradually figured out the rules of the system to issue tasks. It seems that there is a big hand in the dark, guiding him forward. Master Julius, so you are here too. Yummy, this troublesome event won't have anything to do with you, will it? It seems that I am late, otherwise you can check it out. The powerful source of the violent fire magic just now. The 3 figures, like ghosts, rushed towards them quickly. They are the 3 heads of Aster Killer Whale, Emerald Mantis, and Red Lotus Lion King. After all, in the four-leaf clover kingdom, the turmoil of the most bloody magician group Golden Dawn happened. The battle with the last scattered fled, but alarmed the entire Wangguiji. As the head of the group, he has already been notified. Even the stinky praying mantises in the civilian world have arrived. It seems that those guys have received complaints, and the speed is faster than usual. Yami took out a cigarette, lit it, took a deep breath, and said, Captain Kuroba, wait for a while, don't get confused, I believe that Captain Nozel will support you with me. Don't worry, I will report the truth, Nozel said coldly. For a royal family, his words should be the most convincing. What's more, there are some things that Nozer plans to ask Kuroba to confirm. Hehe, it seems that you have already thought about what will happen next. The head of Z1 Killer Whale took the lead and said with a dry smile, this time I came here as a commission from the Magic Council to investigate the turmoil that happened in the Magic Knights and the Golden Dawn just now. Among them, Captain Fugolian, and Captain Jack, are the witnesses, and supervisors, of this time. Having said that, Guldre looked at the Magic Emperor and said, I believe Lord Julius, you won't hinder us from enforcing the law, will you? For a moment, the atmosphere in the field suddenly fell into an inexplicable depression. Many eyes in the field all turned and fell on Magic Emperor. Hehe, Guldre, of course I know the rules of conduct of the Magic Council, but I want to have a private chat with Captain Kuroba. I don't think Captain Guldre would mind, Magic Emperor said with a warm smile. Guldre couldn't help but froze, but feeling the gazes from all around, he still bite the bullet and said, Master Julius, you are serious, I am only the executor, and I just convey the meaning of the Magic Council. Haha, thank you in advance. The Magic Emperor laughed loudly, and cast a magic barrier around him with his backhand, covering Kuroba, Yami, and Nozel. Kuroba, I think you should have guessed something by now. If it is said that Kuroba was confused at the beginning, then by now, Kuroba has also made things clear. According to his guess, when the Golden Dawn was making a fuss, he hid in the dark and never showed up. Barrett, who resided in Vengeance's body, probably did a lot of things secretly. Otherwise, the Magic Council would not have arrived so quickly. After all, the usual style of behavior of the Black Bull is mainly destruction. Even Yami has been dubbed the god of destruction, and now he is staying here. He did make a fuss at Golden Dawn just to sign in. But at any rate, he made a mistake and crashed into the hiding place of Baiyi's magic eye, which can be regarded as a credit. Now that the Magic Council came to the door so quickly, Kuroba would not believe it if there was nothing tricky about it. However, Kuroba, who has the blessing of the system, has never worried. I think, it's the person with Baiyi's magic eye, take the opportunity to give it to me. Kuroba said with a smile. The 3 of Yami couldn't help but startled. The Magic Emperor immediately said with a dry smile, it seems that we were just worrying about it. We thought that, Captain Kuroba, you would be messed up because of the intervention of the Magic Council. However, I still want to remind Captain Kuroba that no matter what charges and sentences will be given over there, I hope you don't make any reply. I will clarify for you in the name of Magic Emperor. Having said that, the Magic Emperor patted Kuroba on the shoulder and said, I value you as a junior very much, not to mention the Magic Council is not a fool. Looking at the solemn expression of the Magic Emperor, Kuroba clearly knew that the so-called talent and strength he showed had completely gained the attention of the Magic Emperor. If it wasn't for the unknown origin, I'm afraid I can't wait to use the position of the next Magic Emperor to try to keep him. Master Julius, you are too serious. Kuroba gave a dry laugh. However, I would like to know what happened in Longguiji during this period of time, apart from this rich area. Once convicted, what is the penalty? Looking at Kuroba's calm posture, Magic Emperor knew that he was overly worried, touched the tip of his nose helplessly, and said, "Okay, since Captain Kuroba is interested, let me tell you what I have now intelligence." According to Marx's report, there were a total of 12 attacks in Longui realm just now. Some small and medium-sized nobles were affected. About 20 people were killed and about 130 people were injured. I heard that vengeance arrived in time and scared off the attackers, otherwise the casualties would be even greater. The attack coincided with the timing of the attack by the head of Kuroba, but between the two, if there is no actual evidence, it is impossible to make a final conviction, but after such a disturbance, the shot of the head of Kuroba this time was not in advance. Reporting is considered a violation, and I think the Magic Council will definitely pursue it, but the punishment given will not be too high. The first possibility is to temporarily stay and observe for a period of time in the demon prison. Second, send them to the strong magic zone to serve for a period of time. Strong magic zone. Kuroba's eyes lit up involuntarily. Originally, I was still thinking that Kuroba would not get used to it once the Magic Council was unreasonable. Unexpectedly, it just hit the top of the muzzle of its own gun. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.